Hello! Has your Vaillant boiler stopped working and it has F28 or a F29 on the display? This video in particular is for the Vaillant Ecotech Plus 400 series boilers. That's a heat-only boiler where you may have that large hot water tank. But the fault causing the problem, which I'm going to show you how to fix, can apply to all modern boilers. So do stick around because this fault could apply to your boiler. Now this fault is a blockage in the condensing system within the boiler. It's an easy fault to fix and I'm going to show you how to check for it and fix it if necessary. Now I was prompted to make this video because I've come across this fault on this particular boiler quite a few times now. So if you're a service engineer, I highly recommend that on a service you just check this particular part because you don't want to get a call back because the boiler has stopped working. Just before I get on with showing you how to fix that fault, down in the description you'll find lots of other really helpful videos about how to go about setting your boiler up to make it more efficient, how to maybe update your controls, make them smart controls, and lots of other really helpful videos. So do check those out. Right, now let's get on with showing you how to get this boiler working again. So here's our boiler, and this is a Vaillant Ecotech Plus 424. And you can see there is a F28 on the display. Now the boiler will not operate until we reset it, and the fault is cleared. And to do that, we push this button which has got the flame and a cross on it, and then hold that button for 5 seconds until we see clear faults in the display. Then we can release the button. Loading will come up on the display, and then the boiler is ready to operate again. It's worth noting that if you get any fault code on the display, the only way to reset the boiler is to press the reset button, hold it for 5 seconds until the boiler says faults cleared. Now here's an F32 fault, which is a fan fault. On some of the Vaillant combination boilers, all you need to do is to just press the button. You don't actually have to hold it for 5 seconds. Now this boiler has come up with the fault code F28, or it could also be an F29, but F28 stands for it's tried to light 3 times and for some reason it's failed to ignite. And F29 is an ignition fault again. The boiler's been operating and it's gone off for some reason. And you might get either or both of these fault codes coming up if you got this blockage. Now the reason this boiler has failed to start up is the condensing trap has become blocked and the bottom of the main heat exchanger has become full of water. So air can no longer flow through it, and so it's tripping out with the F28 fault. Now this clear cylindrical object on the bottom of the heat exchanger is the condensing trap. And if we take a look inside this tube here, check that's not blocked, we can see that's clear as well. Now if we take a look at the condensing trap again, we can see there's a little bit dirt in there, but it's definitely not blocked up. So what is the problem? Just before I show you what the problem is, you may be wondering, where is this water coming from? Now all new boilers are condensing boilers. Don't get that word confused with combination boilers. They're just 2 different types of boiler, but they are all condensing boilers. Now when natural gas is ignited and burned, you get 2 waste gases which are blown out through the flue using the fan in the boiler. Now the 2 gases produced are CO2, which is carbon dioxide, and water vapour, H2O. And that water vapour is holding a lot of heat. So a new modern condensing boiler will extract that heat from that water vapour, making the boiler really efficient. Now when I say water vapour, it's like steam, but you can't see the water in the vapour that's being produced from burning the gas. But if we extract more heat out of those flue gases, which then allows the water vapour in the flue gases to condense, which means it's turned back into water, and that condensed water runs down through the heat exchanger, where more heat is extracted from that water, making the boiler more efficient. The condensed water then runs into the waste condensing system, where it's then disposed of outside the boiler. So when your boiler is running and the flame is on, it will be producing wastewater all the time, which is running down through the heat exchanger, usually into some sort of trap. And of course that wastewater needs to be disposed of. So you should see a white plastic pipe connected onto the bottom of your boiler, which would be ideally connected onto your wastewater system in your house. So when your boiler is operating, it could be producing a couple of pints of water every hour. And like I said, that water needs to go somewhere. And if it can't run away due to a blockage, the main heat exchanger is going to gradually fill up with water until it stops the boiler from working, which is exactly what has happened here. Now, a lot of modern boilers use aluminium heat exchangers. I must say I'm not a big fan of aluminium heat exchangers. Now, as the boiler is operating, you've got that condensed water, which is running down through the aluminium heat exchanger. And as it does that, it produces aluminium oxide, which is like a grey sandy material. This grey sandy material then runs into the trap, where when the boiler is serviced, you would clean the trap out. Another interesting fact about this condensed water, it is extremely acidic, having a pH value of somewhere between 2 and 4. And this acidic water eats away at the aluminium heat exchangers, creating that aluminium oxide. It will also eat away at other metal materials and the lime which is in cement. And look what this condensed water has done to this copper pipe. It's completely eaten it away in just a couple of years. And that's why the pipes which are used to carry the condensed water should be made of plastic. And that's why I prefer using a boiler with a stainless steel heat exchanger, because it's not affected by the condensed water. Now on this occasion, that aluminium oxide, the sandy material, has not run into the trap and has got stuck inside the bottom of the heat exchanger. And it's blocked the hole up in the bottom of the heat exchanger, not allowing that wastewater to run out into the trap. So the bottom of the main heat exchanger is now full of water. Now you just saw me remove the trap and you saw all that water come running out of the bottom of the heat exchanger. Now that's not exactly what happened. I was just showing you that for presentation purposes. So let's just run through exactly what I had to do to clear the blockage. Now firstly, you don't need to remove the cover of the boiler to check to see if you've got a blockage and clear it if you need to. Now make sure you've got a large bowl underneath the bottom of your boiler to catch all that mucky water when it comes pouring out. Then we need to remove the grey flexible rubber tube. Now be careful here, because if you have a blockage in the waste white pipework, you're going to get water pouring out as soon as you pull that rubber tube off. And it is very common for the condensing wastewater pipe to become blocked. They very often become frozen in colder parts of the country. And then it's just a case of pouring really hot water on them to melt that ice and clear the blockage. One of my very first videos which I ever made was myself pouring boiling water onto a frozen condensing pipe. And you can find that video in the description and in the cards above now. Right, so we've now removed the rubber tube and no water has run out of the bottom of the boiler. So we know that the waste pipe is not blocked. Next thing to do is to remove the trap. Now this is straightforward. You just hold that middle plastic part, push it up very slightly, rotate it around anti-clockwise, and then pull it down. Hopefully you can see there's two bayonet style retainers holding the trap in place. Now when I removed the trap originally, still no water ran out of the bottom of the boiler. Because the blockage isn't in the trap, it's in the bottom of the heat exchanger, where the water runs down through the hole and into the trap. So aluminium oxide is blocking up the hole and not allowing water to run out through the hole. So all we need to do is to get a screwdriver or anything pointy like a skewer, poke it up into the hole, twiddle it around, breaking up the aluminium oxide which is blocking the hole. And then all that water and aluminium oxide will come pouring out of the bottom of the boiler. And now you've cleared the blockage and the boiler should start working again. Word of warning here. If you have a blockage, then don't take that outer part of the trap off, because when you poke something up inside it, all that water is going to pour out inside your boiler. And then there's a possibility it might run down onto the printed circuit board, which is really expensive, and destroy it. I'm just showing you it this way for demonstration purposes. So don't remove the outer part of the trap like I am here. Leave it in position. So push your skewer up into the hole from the bottom of the boiler and push it into the hole, wiggle it around and make sure there is no blockage or that the blockage is then cleared. And of course, water will then come pouring out of the trap if you did have a blockage. So let's take a quick look at the trap itself. I've cleaned it all up now before I put it back onto the boiler. I'm very quickly going to jump in here and introduce myself. My name is Mark Ballard and I've been a gas registered engineer for over 30 years. The aim of my channel is to help you with your gas boilers and your central heating. If you find this video at all useful, then please give me a little bit of feedback by clicking on the old thumbs up and subscribe. That will help others to find the video, and of course share it with anyone else who may be interested. If you visit my website, I have categorized all my videos and products and parts that I recommend so you can easily find what you're looking for. And if you fancy getting yourself a DIY t-shirt or maybe a mug, then check out the shop below. And I'd like to say a really big thank you to everybody who's bought me a cup of coffee and left me a donation in my Toolbox fund. It's really appreciated and it does really help me to make more videos which will hopefully help you. Now this is how it goes together. Pretty straightforward, you can't really get it wrong. Inside the trap there's a float, this part here, and it moves up and down as water flows into the trap. And gradually little bits of that aluminium oxide get caught on the seal at the top there and can sometimes slowly block up that hole. So I'm now going to replace the outer part of the trap, slip it onto the O-ring and replace the retaining clip. There we go, that's nice and secure. I then like to take off the O-ring, give it a clean and then add a little bit of silicone grease to help it slip together, because like I said, this is a part of the boiler we need to maintain, so it wants to be able to come apart nice and easily. So take that off there, pop the float back in again, and then ideally add a little bit of water to the float like that. And then slide it into the outer part of the trap, put it into the bayonet connection, twist it around and pull it down slightly to lock it in position. And then finally, don't forget to reattach the rubber tube. There we go. That's the boiler all up and running again. It doesn't seem to matter which brand of boiler you have. If it has an aluminium heat exchanger, they all seem to produce this aluminium oxide. And I came across one boiler where the heat exchanger was so badly blocked up with all this aluminium oxide that the homeowner just opted for a new boiler. And this is all the aluminium oxide which came out of that boiler, which was blocking up the hole. It's surprising how much has been created because it was less than a year ago that this boiler was serviced. And if you're a heating engineer like myself, on your service, just make sure that that hole is clear and there's none of this aluminium oxide slowly blocking it up. Once again, a little word of caution. Now, I was called to this boiler because it had stopped operating. I took the cover off to see what the problem was and obviously very quickly realised that the condensing trap was blocked up. I then cleared the blockage and the boiler started working straight away. I then thought this would be a really useful video because, like I said, this is not the first time I've come across this particular boiler with a blocked condensing trap. So I went through the whole process again and obviously filmed myself doing it. So the word of caution is when I initially unblocked it, a lot of water poured out the bottom of the boiler and it kind of sprayed all over the place. And you can see lots of drips here on the front of the boiler where I'd already cleared it out. So do be careful when that water comes gushing out. Right, that's about it then. So I do hope the video has been useful and you managed to clear that blockage in your condensing system. If you have, then please give me that little bit of feedback by clicking on the old thumbs up, click on that subscribe, and of course share it with anybody else who may find it useful. And of course, here's a couple of links to a couple of other videos which you may find useful. And of course, a cup of coffee in my Toolbox fund is always really appreciated. Bye for now, and I hope to see you in the next video.